occurrence of all the symbols we presume to be equal. Because in any signal, you can't presume that what will be my next bit or what will be my next symbol. So we presume that the probability of occurrence of all the input, you can say, symbols is equal. So that is the first graph for equal, you can say, threshold. Now another one is, you can say, unequal. Unequal means, you can say, probability of one occurring is more than the probability of zero occurring, or vice versa. So in that case, how do we define these particular thresholds? So this is particular, decision thresholds, that and we can presume it, that if this particular symbol was transmitted, how particular decisions will be taken, you can say, corresponding to. Now consider when symbol sent is S1. Okay, I think you are comfortable with this particular discussion. Yes, when everyone understands, I think probably if you are sending a symbol S1, the probability of receiving voltage V is, what is the probability? You can say this S1 generating a voltage V. So I can define it in terms of some probability parameter, obviously. And for symbol S2, it is PVS2. We define a prior probability of presence of these symbols as PS1 and PS2 respectively. I think a priori means before they occur. I know that the probability of, you can say, occurrence of this particular symbol will be how much. Now the decision threshold delta is such that this V, okay, should be greater than lambda. Okay, symbol S1 is selected, for V is less than lambda, symbol S2 is selected. Okay, understand, try to understand decision threshold. Decision threshold means essentially, you can say, which particular symbol is generating more voltage, in a sense, you can say. Okay, if we S1 generates, I presume that S1 has been transmitted. Or if it is, the probability of error, I mean, if this is a case, the probability of error I can calculate is, the probability of error is PS1, you can say, when V is less than lambda, PVS1 dV plus PS2, V is greater than lambda. I mean, both cases we include on, and that particular subsequently, you can say, I define that either, it's either S1, or you can say corresponding to another, either it has to be V is equal to lambda or V is equal to less than lambda. I mean, the probability of occurrence should be equal to 1, you can say, corresponding. So this particular probability of occurrence, probability of error, will be equal to 1 minus, you can say, V is greater than lambda, and this PS2 corresponding to V is greater than lambda. So PS1, PS2, V, PS2 minus PS2. I mean, the probability of error is minimum if for every V is greater than lambda. What is the sense is, we want to reduce the error. So how do you reduce error? To reduce error, what I say, this probability of error, that means this particular whole expression, how much value it should generate. It should be minimum as perhaps possible. So what I say is, probability of error to be minimum, and for every V is equal to lambda, I say that this PS1 and V voltage generated corresponding to S1, this should be, this negative, you can say, expression should be greater than this one S2, because in that only that cumulative will be, you can say, reduced, because in any case this is, we are presuming to positive. So what we say is PS1, PVS1, this should be greater than PS2, PVS2, or I can put in this particular form, PVS1 upon PVS2, that should be greater than PS2 upon PS1. What does it mean? This is called generalized Bayes receiver rule. What does it mean? So, as I said in the beginning, maximum likelihood detection will be there when this particular voltage for S1, H1. Okay, when this is greater than this one, H1 is there. When this is less than H2, you can say corresponding to, I go for PS1. This is for PS2. Understand? I mean, if this expression for, you can say, when H1 I am considering that particular threshold, or H1 limits I am defining, then this should, I mean, I'll be go for PS2. And if if this is less than, then I'll go for PS1, you can say, corresponding to this. The generalized Bayes receiver, essentially this is a conditional probability. I think you probably know, in a signal system also you have studied about conditional probability. So this is an example of conditional probability. Okay, so what we presume, that the received signal is binary waveform. One binary bit is represented by a signal waveform S1t, which persists for time t, while the other bit represented by a waveform S2, which also lasts for interval. For example, in the case of transmission at baseband, that in the very beginning I discussed, S1 is +1 and S2 is -. For other modulation, different waveforms are transmitted. For example, for PSK signaling, S1 is KS2, S2 is this. I think you can correlate with what perhaps, in binary phase shift keying, what we are transmitting A cos omega 0t as 1 and minus A cos omega 0t as, you can say, 0. So, I mean, this S1, S2, this particular will be varying, you can say, corresponding to. For FSK, I'll be transmitting this, and you can say for 0, I may be transmitting this thing. So, if you have a Gaussian noise, uh, now, if S1 and S2, I mean, whether 1 or 0, and then you have a Gaussian noise, and whose power spectral density GNF. So you have, of course, a filter you can put on to low pass filter to filter out, high frequency. And then filter essentially means, I mean, you are trying to detect it, and you sample it at every interval, because either it is S01 plus N0T or S0 plus N0T. This is for binary coded. Are you getting it? Okay. Now, as I discussed earlier on, when can S1 can go wrong, or when S2 can go wrong? S1 and S2 can go wrong when S01 minus S0T upon 2, if the my noise is greater than that. I mean, you can perhaps appreciate it if essentially you can say the difference of the two determines particular, you can say, noise. And I in the very, you can say, the density function, Gaussian density, I told you that a noise level which is below, you can say, your a particular threshold, let's say S01, I mean S0, if you define as output voltage, it will not be able to, because look here, if you are let's say transmitting plus 5 volt, if your noise is -4, it is still +1, you can say. Understand? So it's not, you can say, absolute value which is important. You can say what are the voltage levels. Let's say it may be +5, -5, it may be +2, -2. So this particular noise will be effective when the noise can modify the nature of, you can say, the incoming signal. Nature essentially means its polarity, you can say. So if noise is, let's say, -6 volt, and I mean you can say signal output is +4, so noise can make it -2. Only then you can say error can happen. Understand? I think it's simple. So N0T should be equal to S0 minus T minus S0T upon 2. And the probability of error that we have already calculated, P is what? S01 minus S0T upon 2. We have already said that my noise should be greater than that. If my noise means this is my lower limit, and beyond that noise can be, noise value can take any, infinite value. If you look in the Gaussian distribution function, at a particular threshold, I can define this particular, and again I can use the same calculation that we have earlier calculated. Essentially this kind of integral will give me some complementary error function, and complementary error function, rather than EB, now this is S01 minus 2. What is important for you to appreciate is it is the level, both levels, which will determine probability of error, rather than a single level. You might say that you can have a 0 and you can have maybe 10 volt, or maybe you can have +5 or -5 levels, but all the same, is this a difference? That will be, you can say, more probably will have an effect on that. And for the case of S01, we have already calculated this as you understand VT that we have yesterday also discussed. So the probability of error, let's say this one complementary error, 1/2 complementary error function, V square T upon eta. Now this complementary error function is a monotonically decreasing function of its argument, as we have seen in probability of error in the up one. If your symbol energy is going up or increasing, then this P will be reducing. Hence, as it to be anticipated, P decreases as the difference S0 minus becomes larger. Okay, if the difference becomes larger, quite obvious, because that's a numerator. You can say, if you look at numerator value V square T, if it becomes bigger, this reduces, and as the RMS voltage becomes smaller, RMS, I mean the variance, if you look at 2√2 sigma 0, and this variance is reducing, then obviously my power to, you can say, noise ratio is increasing. The optimum filter then is a filter which maximizes the ratio. What is an optimum filter? You appreciate that? What is an optimum filter? Okay. Optimum, or you can call it optimized. Everyone wants, when you plan out for anything, you want optimum results. What is meaning of optimum? The students, I think you can explain it. What is optimum?
The best thing that we can get.
Yes, yes. One of the parameter is best thing. Any other student? Optimum.
The one that can provides maximum efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency, of course, is your output in any case. Rather than efficiency, right now we are looking at what is my output. Essentially, what is meaning of optimum, I wanted to at least make you aware about is, given the inputs, given the situation, what is the best output I can generate? Okay. So suppose, whatever inputs are there, there will be always some inputs, or you can say, there may be some noise conditions. So optimum filter is a filter which gives me the best response under that, whether good or worse circumstances. No other filter can give me better response than that. So that's what's the meaning of optimum filter. And this optimum filter, if the noise is, Gaussian, then this is called match filter. Okay. So essentially, I think you understand. Filter means essentially which is filtering something. And what we want to, do, we want to optimize this, maximize this ratio, S01 minus S0t upon sigma 0. Now, we can calculate the transfer function of this optimum filter. That's what I was talking about, match filter. So you understand, match filter is an optimum filter. And when the noise we are presuming to be, as a matter of mathematical convenience, we shall actually maximize the sigma square rather than, rather than this particular power, because this is voltage level, we are looking for, you can say, maximizing the power level. Now, how do I calculation of optimum filter transfer function? What this transfer function does is, whatever the incoming input is there, this should always produce an optimum, output. Optimum means essentially more accurate output with whatever the conditions they are operating on. You can say power level, or voltage level, noise level, or all including, you can say. So is it possible? Let us see. So, as we have seen it, the figure of merit, you can call it sigma, or you can say this particular, sigma value S01 minus S0t upon the sigma 0. This you can call, we want to maximize this ratio. So what we have to define is, let's say for the input, I am defining my input signal to my optimum filter is S1t minus S2t. What is S1? S1 is, let's say, my 1. S2 is maybe my 0. So either 1 or 0, you can say, or 0, 1, whatever combination you take on. But essentially, this function Pt is a difference of the two. So S1 may be a cos omega 0t, S2 may be minus a cos omega 0t, or any other, input depending upon the modulation that you are transmitted or that you have made use of. So the corresponding output signal of the filter should be obviously P0t. If it's this my input, my output will be generated corresponding to both of them, S01 minus S0t. I think that's fairly straightforward. Now, what we say is, if, PG, let PF and P0f are the Fourier transform. If I calculate Fourier transform of PT and Fourier transform of P0t. So, if I calculate PT Fourier transform, this becomes my PF. If I calculate the Fourier transform of P0t, this becomes P0f. Okay. So, and how they are related? They are related through a transfer function HF. Because my output, you can say response P0f, this is related with transfer function of a filter, you can say HF, multiplied by PF. That's my input, you can say frequency domain, you can say response. So that's fairly straightforward. I think there is absolutely, probably no doubt in anybody's mind. So if you have P0f, now if I calculate the inverse Fourier transform of P0f, this will be minus into plus infinity P0f e to the power j 2 pi ft. You know all of inverse Fourier transform calculation. There is no issue on that. So this is, if I substitute P0f value, I substitute HF and PF e to the power j 2 pi ft df. That's again very straightforward statement. So, and then what I say is, what is my output noise power? My output noise power, essentially, you can see the variance that I'm trying to calculate, that Gn0, that's the power spectral density of the noise, is equal to, this is my output power spectral density, this is my input power spectral density, because noise is the input, noise power at the output. And they are also again related with the transfer function, because noise power I'm talking, so this has to be, HF square, you can say, corresponding to, so the normalized output power should be what? This sigma 0 square, and I am integrating from minus to, because this is Gn0f. So what will be the power? You can say integrate all the power across all the frequency components. So that's minus into plus infinity Gn0 df. No problem. And this Gn0, you can again substitute with HF square Gnf. Is it, you are getting it? This derivation is for optimum filter, match filter derivation. Yes, students, any question any student has so far? I think it's very straightforward so far. And now, if I substitute as we have calculated on the up, that this figure of merit, this, you can say gamma square, or name you can put on, that is equal to P0 square T upon sigma 0 square, or okay. So that's a figure of merit. If you remember, in the upon we calculated S01 minus S0T upon, you can say, corresponding to my noise power. So here, if you want to, you can say maximize, then what should be there? Because I know P0 square, what is P0 here? P0T is there. So P0T, I'll just square it up. P0, if I square it up, integral minus plus infinity HF square PF e to the power j, I have written the same thing. Similarly, for sigma 0 square, I have written this HF square GNF. No doubt, no confusion anywhere, I think, in anybody's mind. Now, how do you simplify it? P0T upon this thing. We have what is called, I think you know about a little bit, Schwarz inequality. Are you familiar, student? At least complex numbers you have studied. So in complex number, there is this Schwarz inequality, which says if there are two complex, you can say xf and yf, or xy, then minus infinity plus infinity, or xf yf, their modulus square is equal to, or will be less than equal to, minus plus infinity xf square df minus plus infinity yf df. If you know it, and if you don't recall right now, then again you can check on Schwarz inequality is a property of two complex numbers, you can say. So we are using this property here, and I define that, you can see less than sign. Either you can say that this will be generating less than sign or equal to. Equal kab hoga? When xf is complex conjugate of the yf, or yf is complex conjugate of xf. Okay, so yf is complex conjugate of xf, let's say, with a constant k. Only then this particular equal to sign you can make use, or when the two sides, left hand side and right hand will be equal. So xf is kyf. Now xf I define. How do I define xf? Look at xf. I substitute value of under root gnf hf. Yf as 1 upon under root gnf e to the power j2 pi. You can see here, because essentially, we want to reduce it to, you can say, x and y, this particular form, na? So I this particular trans you can say substitution is, I presume xf to be under root gnf hf, and yf is equal to 1 upon under root gnf e to the power j ft, j2 pi ft. Okay, so that's what, if you could look here, that's what, it's fairly straightforward, corresponding to, if you do these substitutions, this P0 square T upon sigma 0 square T, this will be what? If you look at this particular expression, HF, PF, if you look at HF, I have to substitute it as 1 by root GNF. So root DNF you can take from, let's say, if here, then corresponding to, if you look at under root GNF, HF, so this becomes essentially XF, YF, DF square upon XF square. You agree with that? Or you can do yourself calculations whether this matches with that or not. Okay, so this should be equal to, in any case, you can see here, if it's a HF, this HF will be squaring up here, and this, I'm presuming this GNF equal multiplied by this XF. So this GNF may be, you can say, taken by my YF, and so this becomes essentially, you can say, XF square in the denominator and XF YF upon the numerator. No problem. And this, if you look at, this will be less than equal to. because there are two variables, and this xf goes with, you can say, corresponding to this xf, and so this becomes essentially less than equal to minus plus infinity yf square df. Okay, now for the time being, let us say, I mean, this particular p0 square t upon sigma 0 square t with the input we have considered, this generates my yf square df. Now equal to sign, when will be equal to sign? Equal sign we can use when one, you can say, complex number is complex conjugate of the other. So p0, this particular, essentially I can use this symbol as yf square, presuming that each one, you can see it, if they are complex conjugate of each other or not. So this yf is equal to, what is yf? Yf is, you can say, corresponding to gnf. So gnf, if you square it up, this becomes gnf, and then you have the pf. I think this pf was missing there. So this will be corresponding to, you can say, I mean, this is only f, so p must be also there, pf. So this will be pf square upon gnf df. Okay, so correct it here. This will be, in any case, if you can look, the expression pf is here, so we are not taking into account pf, and pf e to the power g2 pi ft, that's corresponding to my yf. And so this particular p0 square t upon the sigma variance square, that's equal to pf square upon gnf. I think no student has any doubt about it, or anyone has, want to ask any question. I mean, this is what we have derived, let's say, this particular ratio value, and let's say here it will attain its maximum value when hf is equal to k p complex conjugate f upon gnf e to the power minus g2 ft. I mean, compare that, this particular hf, xf, and yf, you can say, corresponding values. So essentially what I'm getting from this particular expression is this pf square upon gnf df when this particular maximum value. This will attain its maximum value when hf is corresponding to, if you solve this equation, okay, let's say this whole left side and right hand side, if you solve this equation, this, then only for this hf value, this particular will attain maximum value. This is, you can say, consider it an optimized, result. So what it what it indicates is k is constant, complex conjugate of p value upon gnf e to the power minus j2 pi ft. This value, this kind of transfer function, you can say, for a filter hf, that will generate maximum p0 square t upon sigma 0 square. How? Now this is gnf. So if gnf we can presume to be, let's say, white Gaussian if it is noise, then what will be the gnf? Gnf will be essentially, you can say, n0 by 2. So an optimum filter which yields a maximum ratio p0 square t upon sigma square is called a match filter. Okay, as I say in the very beginning, this is called a match filter if it's a maximum ratio when the input noise is white noise, you understand. So gnf is equal to eta by 2, and so that particular equation becomes, my hf becomes k complex conjugate pf upon eta by 2 e to the power minus j 2 pi ft. I think this is, I mean, we are just substituting the values. Now if you calculate the inverse Fourier transform, you can say, corresponding to hf, this ht will be inverse Fourier transform, and that this value, if you do this inverse Fourier transform, 2k upon eta minus plus infinity p complex conjugate e to the power minus j2 pi ft e to the power j2 pi ft df. Fairly straightforward, because this t here I'm presuming to be, you can say, some value, constant value, you can say. So, and I'm integrating with again with the time, you can say, exponential. And so if you combine them together, they become some sort of, you can say, t minus t function, t minus t, you can say, df. So we complex conjugate pf e to the power j 2 pi f t minus t df. I think any doubt? Again, it's a only substitution. So a physically realizable filter will have an impulse response which is real. I think you know about, so far at least, real, and you can say, I mean, causal or non-causal, you can say. It can be only, have a physically realizable filter will have an impulse response which is real. That means ht is equal to complex conjugate of itself. When ht, I mean, complex conjugate should be equal to, you can say, its function, original, you can say ht. Only that this particular function is realizable. So ht becomes 2k upon n pf e to the power j 2 pi f t minus t df. Now what does it mean? It means essentially I can substitute this value as equal to 2k upon eta, and my this particular p, or my, you can say, this particular function t minus t. Okay, so this my impulse response I mean, if I integrate this value, I can substitute this, or I can calculate this value to be 2k upon eta p t minus t. This is a particular, you can see the response. Now you might say, what is the significance of this particular, result? The significance, you can see p is what? P function, you defined pt as s1 t minus s2 t. ht I defined, you can say 2k upon eta. Now p is what? Essentially, you can say s1. S1 minus S2. So rather than S1 minus, this becomes S1 T minus T minus S2 T minus T. Very straightforward, I think. No doubt. Anyone, any student has any doubt? It's basically S1 minus S2. You can say my, again, figure of merit or my impulse response is that I think I discussed yesterday also. You know about why do we calculate impulse response of any system? Yes, students. What do you mean by impulse response? आपने पढ़ा भी नहीं अभी तक impulse response?
So the
कौन बताएगा?
output received when no input is applied.
No, that's not the case. I think impulse response, when no input is there, how can there be output? That's not impulse response. Any other student? Impulse response. I think you must be having, you can have amplifier, impulse responses also. You can have system impulse response also. In signals and system, I hope, or perhaps if you are not read it about. Yes, any other student? What is the meaning of impulse?
Impulse input.
Yeah. Yes. Please go ahead.
When impulse input is given.
When input is?
Impulse input is given.
Yeah, that's a better answer. At least, when you have a delta function input as. So what is the output then? Now, delta function, all of you know, it's a really somewhat a theoretical, function, delta function, I think you don't understand. So, but of course, we say it's a realizable, I mean, to whatever approximation we can use in communication, at least you can say. So, I mean, it's it's not infinite, you can say input, but whatever input you can say close to the delta function. If you apply that, how the system responds to that? You might say, why do we do that? There is a reason, because why we do that is because now we can characterize the system. We say if the system input is this much, this is his impulse response. So when I am applying some other input, what should be this output? So I can logically analyze the system. Okay. So that enables me to, at least for all other inputs, I can analyze my system, that how the system will go to or react to this kind of other inputs, you can say. So impulse response is a fairly, practice across, you can say, any kind of, you can say, amplifiers, oscillators, or whatever you are designing corresponding to, depending upon. So, I mean, this impulse response I have calculated for this particular optimum filter is 2k upon eta, S1 t minus t, S2 t minus t. I think no problem. Now you might say that how does it work? We can see it very well, in fact, here right now. So suppose this is my S1T. You can have a rectangular or you can have a, let's say, triangular input to make it more explicit. Okay. So S1T is positive. I'm saying, let's say 5 volt triangular wave I'm transmitting as my one. And S2 is minus, you can say, corresponding to negative triangular pulse of 5 volt or whatever the peak voltage that I'm defining. So this is my S1. This is my S2. I mean, what you studied or normally you are familiar with this, you have positive flat voltage and you will have a negative flat voltage. So rather than for the time being to see that, we can take, you can say, triangular pulses also. That's, doesn't make that, I mean, makes the difference, you can say, discussion perhaps more, comprehensible. So this PT is what? If you calculate S1 minus S2, what is my PT? PT is S1T minus S2T. Okay. So S1 minus S2, positive minus negative means it becomes positive. So that means the peak voltage here A, then I get a pulse, the triangular pulse of 2A magnitude. That's very straightforward. And when I calculate T minus T, okay, P minus T. So minus T means it's an image of this, we can say, corresponding to this particular. If you rotate corresponding to, or if you put a mirror there, or what kind of image it will generate, minus T. So that's P minus T. What my filter output is, you can say my filter output is PT minus T. So if I have calculated P minus T, now I give a shift to it, that, okay. If I give a shift amount of the t, you can say t is our, our sampling, you can say corresponding we are doing. So if you do, this make a shift of t, my next pulse, this becomes p t minus t of an amplitude 2a. So my filter characteristic for this kind of inputs should be this, you can see this waveform. Okay, you might say, sir, how it is helpful or useful? The theoretical calculation we have done is what is called match filter. Matching of what? Matching of, you can say, your waveforms. This particular waveforms, depending upon my input waveforms, I generate, you can say, particular waveform or particular, filter characteristic, which will give me the most optimized response. Okay, so this signal S1t, S2t, and this PT, I mean, if they are rotated along with, I mean, that's what we have seen, the waveform in D translated to the right by amount t. If you do, because this is my out P minus t, and if you do the translation, t, if you translate it positive by t, so this becomes P t minus t, my corresponding to filter output. So this is, very simple, I think, for everybody, a student to understand that, this, I have designed a particular, wave shape for my, transfer function, or for my filter, which is handling, you can say, my incoming input signals. So this is valid for, let's say, for triangular. This is valid for even a rectangular or all other waveforms which you can think of. Now, probability of error of match filter. The match filter may also, you can say, have some errors. What errors it is? GNF is equal to eta by 2. I think you know about. We have already seen it. So if I substitute GNF, so what we calculate? P0t upon sigma 0 square. Maximum, obviously it has to be, I mean, we want to have its maximum. So if you substitute this variance as eta by 2, so this becomes 2 upon eta, and this becomes PF square. From Parseval theorems, if you look at from time frequency domain to time domain, you can have this particular, minus plus infinity. All power you can correlate to the time domain property, that is P square t dt. Okay, and since it's only interval is 0 to t, so I can write it at 0 to t, P square t dt. So this is what is my, I mean, error. You can calculate P0 square upon this sigma square. This essentially is what you can say 0 to t S1t minus S2t square dt, because P square is what? S1t minus S2t. So I can calculate S1 square S2t square or 2S1 S2. And so the optimum choice of S2 is what? Optimum choice of S2 is when, I mean, when this particular, you can say, will generate the maximum output. Understand? That only can happen when S2t is equal to minus S1t. Complex, you can say, conjugate of, as we have seen, XF and YF relationship earlier on. So this 2 upon eta, ES1, ES2 minus 2, I mean, you can calculate this particular, and I presume that this particular, all these values are equal to, I mean, some symbol energy. So I can calculate, I mean, if you do this calculation, ES1 is equal to ES2 is equal to minus ES12. Okay. So this becomes my essentially, you can, all these powers I presume to be, in this case, S2t minus S12. So this is ES. So that becomes how much? You can say, how much? It should be 2 plus 2, 4. 4 into 2 is 8. 8 ES upon eta. So I can define my probability of error. You can say this particular corresponding to my probability of error, because what is this P0 t upon sigma square? That's again my, you can say it's a basically, you can say ES upon, you can say eta inside the bracket of complementary error function that we calculated. Probability of error. Probability of error inside, you can see the bracket is essentially, you can see this particular same power or ratio of, you can say, signal power to, noise power, essentially ES upon eta, or I write is P square, you can say in terms of power, ES is in terms of symbol energy, P0 t is in terms of power, you can say P0 square t. So it's essentially amplitude square, you can say it. Amplitude square upon, I mean, your noise power, the sigma 0 square. So what is the, probability minimum, you can say, corresponding to the my match filter will be 1 by 2 complementary error function ES upon eta. That's very simple. So match filter is an integrator. Can you you accept it? Because obviously an integrator also acts as a you can say match filter, because it again optimizes your output. Integrator and dump circuit that we have done in BPSK or other things, they are working as, you can say, almost a match filter. The impulse response of the match filter is we have already calculated. Now this is a pulse of amplitude 2 extending from 0 to t. So ht is what? I mean, I can calculate this. The inverse transform of ht, that is the transfer function of the filter, becomes with as the Laplace transform area hs is equal to e minus st upon s. The first term represents the integration beginning at t is equal to 0, while the second term represents integration with reverse polarity beginning at t is equal to corresponding. So I can define this my current, I mean, signal as you can integrator that will give me a match filter equivalent response system, which I can prove also this way. I think this is all probably today we have. So I mean, if let's say PSK, if we calculate, let me do the last calculation. So if for PSK, S1t is a cos omega 0 t, S2 is minus a cos omega 0 t. So what we do, S1t is equal to minus S2t. So what should be my output? If you look at the corresponding output, P will be 1 by 2 complementary error function Es upon eta. Okay. I mean, if you can do the same calculations corresponding to what we have carried out on the up here. You can say corresponding. Oh. Hmm. This is a bit disturbing, destabilizing. Some problems with this particular system. Okay, but anyway, you understand it at least. Corresponding to, if you take the corresponding at least PSK case that we have taken. So in case of PSK, this response, my output, you can say corresponding will be 1 by 2 complementary error function. Like this is what my current, you can say output. So this is 1 by 2 complementary error function a square t upon sigma. I mean, what is my, a is amplitude I'm defining, t is my time interval, eta is my, you can say, corresponding to noise power that I'm defining. So I can equivalently, I can write this particular bit energy in this form also. And imperfect phase synchronization. Look here, if suppose the phase is not synchronized, okay? If the phase is not synchronized, then what will happen? This will have an additional component cos square phi. So that means a cos phi value, you might say that where from the imperfect phase synchronization may come out. Obviously, because when the signal travels, the signal will, you can say, some electronic, you can say receiver, I mean, parts we will have in that, the receiver parts of front-end receiver, some amplifier will be there, or some other, you can say, capacity response. So it can have some phase, introduced into that. If that is the case, then the probability of error will have this kind of cos square function. And obviously it will modify, you can see my expression. So that means phase synchronization is must. Okay. That is a must condition for, you can say, corresponding to. Now we can do the calculation also corresponding to my, if S0 is t plus t, I mean t plus tau. If there are some delays, I can calculate these particular values, and these values I can represent in 1 minus 2 tau upon t. I mean the delays, if a particular pulse gets delayed because of, you can say, this perfect, bit synchronization. Okay. As I said, I think probably, and those of a student, maybe you should write about, this particular assignment, I think clock synchronization. I think the whole class, you have some 5 marks or 10 marks for, your assignments also. So I want a whole class to write about this, some, you can say, or try to have on some paper or review paper study on, or from the books also, if you want to read some, you can say, seminar type, on clock synchronization. So clock synchronization means, you can say, for the EC1 batch, okay, they can work on, let us say, mobile communication. In mobile communication, how the clock synchronization is done. Okay. Then EC2 can do on satellite communication. In satellite communication, how the clock synchronization goes on. The third group, you can say EC3, they can work on optical synchronization, you can say clock synchronization in optical communication. And the fourth one, you can say, the corresponding, the students, they can again pick up, you can say, some other maybe radar, or some, you can say, what we can call maybe navigation. Okay, the fourth group can work on, EC4 can work on navigation. Why the clock synchronization is important in navigation. So I have 4 topic I have given. I think you have 15, 20 or 25 student, whatever you are. Every student of EC1 group will write on, you can say, corresponding to on mobile communication or wireless communication. They can pick up different topics in mobile, within mobile and wireless. Second one can on satellite. Satellite, you can have low orbit satellites, you can have median orbit, or you can have a geostationary satellites also. So whatever orbit you take on, whatever application you take on, whether it's a GPS or our own GNSS navigation system, you can take on. The third one is optical. So optical can have different kind of systems are there in optical. They can also work on clock synchronization problems. And the fourth one is on, you can say, navigation. Okay, so I mean, clock synchronization in navigation process, how it is done, and what are the different, you can say, methods which can be done, and what are the challenges in realizing this kind of navigation. Is my this particular assignment clear to everyone? Students?
Yes, sir.
Is there any deadline?
Deadline, I think you define when you want to submit. Maybe 10 days, 15 days, that will be okay. Students, you want 1 week or 2 weeks? Tell me. But you want 1 week or 2 weeks? That's up to
2
Sir,
weeks.
Okay, 2 weeks you submit, no problem. But it will be better if one of you, at least from EC1, EC2, EC3, EC4, I mean 2-3 students coordinate with all students. Students who do not have, or perhaps are not, maybe not right now present in the class, or may do not have access to the literature also. I think some good student can help your, other colleagues also. If they want anything, in any case, they can come to me, or they can discuss. Of course, maybe right now this Omicron, or I think you are sitting at your home, so maybe you can write me mail. I'll try to help as much as perhaps some material can be searched, or any other doubt if you have. But that will be good exercise, because that will give an insight. In fact, the fourth group I want, in network synchronization, because that's very important problem nowadays. And along with navigation, if you can work on network synchronization also. What is the meaning of network synchronization means? Now, data networks are operating at very high speed. You can say everybody wants a gigabits of, connectivity. And so how the gigabits of connectivity, the clock synchronization is, you can say conducted or perhaps maintained. You might say that what are the challenges? Obviously, challenges are many, in fact, because any, clock, you can say mismatch will lead to a lot of errors. And when you operate an oscillator or a clock frequency generator at a gigahertz, then its stability is a big challenge. I think I just want to make you understand some of the challenges of this kind, at least. So the fourth group, EC4, can have a network synchronization also along with the navigation, I think. And the time allocated is 2 weeks. So that means today we have 6th, I think, probably date we have. And so maybe by 21st you should submit. You can make submission online also, since you are not right now in the campus. So online submission will also, but I'll see, because that submission doesn't mean, you just download and cut and paste. I think probably that will be not, it will be much better if you write in your own language, and you understand something about it. The purpose of giving this particular assignment is to you appreciate and understand, read on yourself, and try to comprehend many aspects of this kind of problems. Okay, so next rest of the thing I think we will have tomorrow.
Sir, approximately world limit.
Word limit, I think if it is interesting to you, you can have 5 page, 10 page. I think from my side, no limit. Okay, of course, I don't want you to write something very lengthy, report on that, but at least you read one paper or one, chapter from any book, that why clock synchronization in communication is important for satellite, for optical, and for, you can say, mobile and wireless, and for network, or you can say navigation. That's a very integral part of, or challenging part rather, you can call, for communication engineers, network synchronization or the clock synchronization. And there are some very time-tested practice, you can say, methods which are being used, and they're, this is even today also, this is evolving. This is no permanent, you can say, sir, this is done now. Still, you can say more, better solutions are coming up. So at least you read about, and I think 5 pages may be sufficient. Maybe you can say 5 to 10 pages. I think that will be sufficient. Don't write, unnecessary things, but at least relevant things which you have understood, and you want to make them express that this aspect I have understood. One method I have understood, and this is the method. This is how the method works, and this is how it is used in this particular application. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
so do we need to write by pen and paper, or either we can type also?
Yeah, you can type also. I can make out that it's not a cut and paste. I mean, I can see that myself. I mean, no issue. I think you can type also if you like, and you can write on the pen also. You can just scan and then also you can submit. No, I mean, it's up to you only. From my side, no restriction of you can say anything. But it should be
Okay,
your
sir, thank you.
it should be your own thought process. You don't copy from anyone. I mean, I want you, even if you learned, at least you can say one method about, so you should write that method in your own language. I mean, I want that at least. I don't want a detailed, you can say, some 50-page report, cut and paste report. That's not the purpose of this particular assignment. At least you read on whatever you have understood. You write, I mean, that. Whether it's a 5-page, 6-page, or 8-page or no. I mean, upper limit, you can say 10 pages may be sufficient, I think. Okay.
Okay, sir, fine.
Yeah. Any other student has any other, question? So we continue from here in our next lecture. Okay. Okay.